Hello everybody, I'm Heath and I've got something very special today. I've got kind of a blast from the past here. This is Wizard's Quest. It's kind of like a fantasy risk type of game that I remember playing a lot as a kid. I even remember taking this game down to Florida when the whole family, the whole extended family would go down on Florida vacation trips together. And I remember we would take this game and we even played it down there. My aunt had the game at her house. She found it a couple of weeks ago and said, "Do you want this?" And I was like, "Well, of course. Yes, I absolutely do want this." Because there's a lot in this. This was even inspirational in War of Kings, the game that my brother and I designed. If you take a look, the game board in this heavily inspired a part of the War of Kings game board. So let's check this out. Look, lots of text on the back. This is definitely old school. This says the copyright 1979, the Avalon Hill Gaming Company. So definitely going old school here. I haven't opened it up since it was brought over to my house. So it's been years since I've opened this up. But let's check it out. Whoa! Look at that! I am sure that's not how it came. This was my uncle's game, and so I am sure color slides. Wow, I hadn't thought about slides in a long time either. So he definitely organized his board game, looks like by color here, using these slide boxes. That's pretty cool. Now look what's inside. More. This is definitely old school gaming right here. Because we've got... Oh! These are your armies. This is old school Avalon Hill. So every player has just these punchboard armies. These flags were armies. Treasure, I remember that. And then over here, yeah, we should have a hero and a wizard. Yep, a hero and a wizard token for each person. But this is more treasure. I don't remember the difference between the circular armies and the square armies. I'll have to look that up. But that should be what is inside each one of these different boxes. So like Risk, lots of players. That's was an advantage to this game, especially if you have lots of people, that you could have lots of players in the game. This just... Oh yes, orcs! I forgot about that. These tokens, there was like a non-player army mechanic in this that we kind of used a little bit for the Maladorian Marauders in War of Kings. So a little bit of inspiration there as well, I believe. And these were the orcs. So these are orc armies that would pop up, and they would take up territories that were abandoned. Isn't that funny? That's your orcs right there. And then there's a dragon that would come down and eat armies in the field. And then this is Peacemaker the Wizard, because these two would fly around the game board in different times. And if the dragon landed on you, well, then you had a bunch of your armies get eaten. And then if Peacemaker the Wizard came by and stopped by, then that army in that territory couldn't attack. They were pieced. We called it, they got pieced, so using piece as a verb. We've got two plastic dice, very simple and old school. Got these, something goes in these, but I'm not sure what it is. I remember the cards. I allow you to make one extra attacking campaign. I give you 2 extra men. I give you... Oh, this was petitioning the wizard. I remember what this was. Peacemaker the Wizard, that counter that we just saw. Peacemaker, I think what was going on is that all of the different players were different warlords over the realm who were vying to become king, and they were fighting with one another. And then Peacemaker the Wizard came by and was trying to figure out a way to end the bloodshed and figure out who was going to be king. And so he basically set up this game to be played among all of the different warlords where they're searching for different parts of treasure. That was it. That's why you've got treasure. I think I'm remembering this right. We can check out the rules. But you were searching for different types of treasure with your army. Then whoever assembled all the treasure, Peacemaker was going to allow to be king. And then you could petition the wizard. Wizard Quest petition. And I forget why or what mechanic allowed you to do that. But if you petitioned Peacemaker the Wizard, then you may send me, Peacemaker the Wizard, to the region of your choice. Then toss 1 die to determine the territory, and I will prosper it by adding 3 men, or orcs. So you could petition Peacemaker to do something that was probably going to help you. You may move one opponent's treasure from its current space on the board to any other which does not already contain a treasure. You may send the dragon to the region of your choice, then toss 1 die to determine the treasure, and make 1 more toss to see what he gobbles up. Oh, I'm having so many memories come back here. So here is the rule book. Definitely looks 1979. Avalon Hill. Wizard Quest rules. The object of the game. To win, you must be the first player to regain all 3 of your treasures. Okay, so that's why each box had treasures in them. We saw the different colors. I think I remember that now. It wasn't general treasures you were trying to collect. You had your own specific color treasures that you were supposed to go after. I suppose that keeps every player from going to the same location. Every player's going across the island, trying to wage campaigns to get to their treasures and probably getting in each other's way. I wanted to remember what the difference in the armies were. Oh, okay. So it's actually pretty simple. It contains 40 flag counters, each represents 1 man. 6 circular counters, each is equivalent to 5 flag counters. These counters can be exchanged for 5 individual flag counters and vice versa at any time. Okay, so I guess that makes sense, kind of like in Risk, when you've got so many armies and then you can use this other token to indicate a larger number. So that makes sense. Nothing particularly special there, but your hero and your wizard, actually your hero and your sorcerer. Peacemaker is the wizard. Your team has a hero and a sorcerer that can go out. And basically, I remember that in combat, you were trying to roll, a d6, and you would have a certain number of armies in your territory when you go to attack. And if you had up to 4 armies, then whatever you rolled on the d6, I believe is the way that it goes, you would kill that number of armies of the opposing side. But that if you rolled like a 5 or a 6, then you didn't kill any because you had overshot your number. And I believe that number capped out at 4. So even if you had 6 or 8 or 10 armies in a particular territory, as long as they were just armies, your attack capped out at a roll of a 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then the sorcerer, I remember the sorcerer allowed you to disperse attacks. So all losses in battle are removed from the space and taken off the board unless a sorcerer is involved in the attack. If a player conducts an attack with a force that includes a sorcerer, any losses he inflicts are not removed from the board, but are dispersed by him to any unoccupied space or spaces which belong to the defender that he chooses. So the dispersal goes on, and you could bump up your foes over by somebody else, taking him away from you, putting him someplace else. A space containing a hero can only be attacked by a force led by another hero or a dragon. That's interesting. A hero cannot be attacked by other types of forces. A hero leading an attack can attack all types of forces, plus the dragon and the wizard. To resolve a battle, each combatant tosses 1 die at the same time. Any player not involved in the battle rolls for dragon, wizard, or orcs if they are one of the combatants. The player's die toss indicates the number of opponent's counters that are removed from the space, up to the total force present in the battle, if the toss is within the proper die range. If the die toss is out of die range, the opponent loses nothing. For instance, if a player's die range is 3, and he tosses 1, 2, or 3, his opponent loses 1, 2, or 3 counters respectively. If he tosses a 4, 5, or 6, the opponent loses nothing. The dragon has a die range of 6. The wizard has a die range of 6. Orcs have a die range equal to the number of orcs in the space, never greater than 4. Men have a die range equal to the number of men in the space, maximum die range of 4. The hero has a die range of 1 by himself in the space. He adds 1 to the die range of men in the same space, so that the maximum range for 4 or more men and a hero is 5. Yeah, that's what I thought. So he bumps up your die range to 5, and that's the only way you can go above 4. You can't do it with just standard soldiers. The sorcerer has a die range of 2 by himself in a space. He adds 2 to the die range of men in the same space. So the maximum range for 4 or more men and a sorcerer is 6. But the sorcerer, if you've got him with you, he doesn't kill the foes. He disperses them someplace else, and you get to choose. Oh, a force defending an attack in one of the 18 forest or mountain territories in the following 3 regions adds 1 to its die range. But not for attacking from the territories. It's just a defensive thing. A force defending an attack in a castle adds 2 to its die range. A force defending an attack initiated from a territory at the other side of a bridge adds 2 to its die range. A force receives no die range from it if attacking across a bridge. A force defending against an attack through the Great Tunnel adds 2 to its die range. A force receives no die advantage if attacking through the Great Tunnel. This is interesting. If both die tosses in a battle are out of their respective die ranges, the attacking player must lose 1 counter from his attacking force. I guess that makes sure something is going to happen in every attack. Well, this isn't a comprehensive how to play, but that's just fun. It's bringing back so many different memories. I like these old school games. I think there's a lot to learn from them. Certainly seems hardcore. See, okay, here's the board, and I forgot that the board comes in multiple pieces, and you put it together. Doesn't this look like hardcore old school fantasy? See, the Great Tunnel. That way, here's another Great Tunnel, so you can go in back and forth between the Great Tunnel. You can see we've got castles, so you're not building castles in this game. I guess there wasn't time for that during the campaign, but as you can see, there are ancient castles already in the land that are set up that you can control. And I think you put the treasure in the castles, and so you defended the treasure from the castles. I believe that's the case. And of course, you can see we got forests, and then mountains, which also aid in your defense, and then the river, and with only certain bridges across it. Here's a quick look at the summer side of the board for War of Kings. You may be able to tell the Wizard Quest inspiration here. I do remember that Seth and I went back and checked out the Wizard Quest game board while we were designing War of Kings, and when we opened it back up and saw it after many years after having played it, I remember we thought that it did look rather 1970s, and so while we were taking inspiration from that board, we also wanted to upgrade it for modern gaming. So this is what we came up with. Wow. It kind of makes me want to play. Makes me want to play just to experience the old school and then also go back and also just remember what this game was like, because I've got so many memories of playing with my brother and my uncle and then of course the entire family as well. Instead of playing Risk, you should play Wizard's Quest. I think it was better. But you know what? The one negative in today's world would be playing with the counters here. But I had an idea, so let me see here. You know that in another video I did an unboxing of Joan of Arc, and check this out. These, I've got tons of these kinds of miniatures from the Joan of Arc game, and it occurred to me that these could be perfect proxy miniatures for Wizard's Quest. Now you could go even smaller. I don't know how many miniatures you're going to need to be able to get in each particular place, but if you go down to 10mm miniatures, I think they're going to be difficult to try to pick up and going to knock over a lot, but these have really nice bases on them, and they're a really good size for armies, I think. And I'm not going to get all of the different ones out here. I know we have different kinds of infantry sculpts, and if you painted up the different infantry sculptures in different colors, then you could have the different armies represented, and that still wouldn't be bad for this, I don't think, because you're just talking about painting them up in different livery colors for different lords or whatever. And then I noticed that we've got like this mounted guy right here, this mounted knight. Why not use something like this for your hero? So we need to be able to represent a hero, and it'd be really obvious which of your territories contains your hero if he's the one who's mounted. I don't know if there's a good wizard in here, but there certainly does look like it. Or rather, to be your sorcerer. Like that guy could be a sorcerer. We could have this guy as a sorcerer. He's kind of like the bishop look. So I bet there are even cool things that could be your sorcerers that look different enough. And then we would just need to have the dragon and Peacemaker the wizard. But they're intentionally larger anyway, so I bet we could find like 25 or 28mm miniatures for them. We'd have to think about orcs, though. Would have to come up with some good 15mm orcs. But that sounds like fun to me. Oop. What a cool return to old school gaming. Well, anyway, that is my kind of blast from the past. Thank you so much for joining me on this kind of trip down memory lane, taking a look at Wizard's Quest here. Have you played it? Does anybody else remember this game? If you've got memories of this game and what the best parts were and what you liked and what you didn't like, please put that in the comments section down below. I think it'd be a lot of fun to talk about. If you've enjoyed this video, please go back to my channel. I've got a whole bunch of other videos on tabletop gaming, on fantasy, even action figures, and I've got it all organized by playlists. So you can go over to the channel, go to the playlist, find out what topic you want, and then go through all the videos. I look forward to seeing you in another video, and until then, happy gaming.